Welcome to ARTnUP. I'm Kristine Ballard.
And I'm Melony Smirniotis.
And this is the place where creatives connect, cultivate and support each other's artistic journey.
And today we are interviewing Lee Knutson from Colorado, America, the US of A. Lee is an artist, an emerging artist, contemporary artist, but also a musician. So first of all, Lee, thank you for being with us today. And we want to start with, tell us, were you always a creative person?
I have been, since childhood. Just kind of not always in the arts, but I was always creative, with my sports stuff. I was always doing something crazy, pulling tires or running through trees, anything to get better, anything that was different than whatever all the other kids were doing,
So you didn't want to behave, is that right? You didn't like behaving with what you had to do. You wanted to always do something a little bit different or be a little bit creative with what you were given?
Well, I didn't, I kind of grew up out in the country, and so I didn't have a whole bunch of friends, so I kind of had to make my own entertainment.
Can you explain to us, because we're here in Australia, what your version of country is?
I grew up on 2 acres. So it was, around other houses. So everybody had 2-acre plots. So it wasn't a big farm or anything, but, enough acreage to run around and drive motorcycles and 4-wheelers and fish and that kind of stuff.
And when did you know you wanted to be an artist? If you mentioned that you were doing sports stuff. So when was the shift when you decided, oh, I want to be an artist?
Well, professionally here in 2015. 2015 is kind of where I was like, well, I'm gonna dedicate my life to it. I struggled 20 years with alcoholism, and I had to figure out something to do. And that's what it did something for me, and I never looked back on the alcohol, and now I'm with you guys.
So art saved you. I always say art saves people.
Well, it really did. It saved me like no other. I can't even really explain it. Luckily, I had.
So when did you actually pick up a paintbrush for the first time, dedicating, that actual focus to art?
I was screwing around with Sharpies and rulers, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, but I knew it didn't look very professional. So and then I was screwing around with acrylics and watercolor, and the brushes, I couldn't pull a straight line, without the paint wouldn't be right. And so I started looking into hand lettering guys and pinstripers. And that's where I got into pinstriping brushes and paint. The paint that I use is alpha enamel in one shot, and then these long brushes, so you can pull these long beautiful lines, and it just worked for me. I was like, oh, I finally found it. This is what I've been looking for. And so I kind of just keep screwing with it and kept screwing with it. And then I also do a lot of enamel paint stuff, so, and it's an enamel, so it's a push and pull kind of deal, which I do when I'm spraying.
Can you explain to us what pinstriping actually is for people who might not know what that is?
Well, it's an art that kind of it's been around forever, but there's a guy named Von Dutch that started it in the 50s or around the 40s, 50s. And it was based on scratches on cars. He was covering them up, and then he just made some designs and people loved them. And then it made a whole culture out of it called, the custom culture, Rat Fink. It's really neat stuff. A lot of motorcycles, hot rod cars. If you go to car shows, especially in America, it's pretty big. And then it lost its way around 1983, hand lettering, when the vinyl and everybody started just printing everything. So before that, everything was on signs, and businesses were all hand lettered. So it kind of put a whole slew of people out of work that were hand letterers and pinstripers. But it made another craze here in the last, 20 years, it's kind of came back, and it's really neat. It's a lost art.
It's definitely skill based. And speaking of which, what would you say is the focus of your art in terms of subject matter and concepts?
Well, the focus, I base music and rhythms and colors, because I'm an abstract artist, so I tend to be drawn to color, and then as things go, I just let it develop. But it's usually based on music. The stuff that I'm doing now is really heavily based on music, but I don't want to show it yet. So.
Is there a particular music style that it's based on, Lee? Because there's a wide gamut of different types of music.
You bet. I enjoy blues and classical, and so blues primarily, in the classical aspect. But I love all kinds of music. But blues are the ones that I really trigger me to get going on it.
So would it be right to say that you've actually released a couple of singles recently?
Yes, it would. We are, my stage name is Moses Phone, and the single that came out is Hello Darling. And then my writing partner, a guy that I play with, his David Albert Couth band, I played banjo on his single that just came out. So, and then he's working in the studio again, and I play banjo on that.
Lee, where do you make your art? Do you have a special location or locations?
I do. If it's cold, I'm down in my room because my paintings are based on temperature, and humidity. So in the wintertime, it's hard to get anything done the way for the paint. So in my bedroom here, I have a little studio, so I do a lot of work.
So is that because it has to dry? It takes time to dry, Lee, or?
Well, that, and it's pretty miserable to paint out in the cold when it's,
Okay. And we do have some shots that we'll put in there of what you mean by out in the cold. And there's a snow blaze. I'm probably calling it the wrong thing. And
yeah, that was a good old blizzard there. That was good. So yeah, temperature is a big thing for me, because then in the summer the shop gets really hot, and that's no good for paint because it just dries so quick. And I have to work rapidly fast anyway. So the pinstriping is one aspect of what I do, and then the other, when I'm spraying the paint, I'm pushing and pulling, and that's all temperature based and humidity based, because if you don't do things right and you don't work quickly, then it's big mistakes, and it's a lot of headache is what it is, and a lot of paint on your hands and a lot of screwing around.
So how do you actually schedule your time? Like, I know the backstory in terms of your work, working on the ditch, if you could tell us a bit about that as well. And then how do you find that balance between, another job and then actually putting in that focus? And I know you put a lot of time towards your art.
Well, for me, for one, I don't have children, so that gives me a little bit more time. But I work at a job. I'm a ditch rider, so I run all the water for all the farmers in northern Colorado here, and so I work every single day in the summer. No days off, no sick. You can't, even if you're dead, you got to be there. And,
not much work gets done though if you're a bit dead.
I kind of have the winters, we do stuff, but not as much, so I have more time. But I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and do whatever it takes to get whatever I need done. I make it happen. It's something in my blood. I just got to make it.
So when you're working in the summer, how do you schedule time to paint?
In the morning, when I wake up, I'm usually going out and doing my orders. Then I come back, I might have an hour. I might have 15 minutes. So for what I do, sometimes 15 minutes is just enough time to get one little thing done. That's how I kind of got to work is, okay, what am I doing? I'm going to get this prepped and ready, and then I'll come back to it in the nighttime. And so it's just an ongoing kind of.
I'm understanding, Lee, that your work involves a lot of layers in which one layer dries and then you wait for that. So do you work on one piece at a time or many pieces because of
I work on numerous pieces. So I might spray something, push and pull, get what I want, and then an hour later I might come back and pinstripe it with a pinstriping brush like this, a hand lettering brush, and that takes a lot more time. So I just make the time. I really do. You know, it's my life. It makes me happy. So I make it work. You know, so I don't take too many breaks, I guess. From
Yeah, it sounds like you don't really have a problem with motivation. That art
no.
is almost medicinal for you, which I can completely relate to.
Well, the nice thing is that I can bounce back between guitar and painting. So, and then I've started to relic guitars and take them apart and redo them, and so I got a lot of projects. And then just in general, you know, we got horses and all kinds of stuff going on. So there's always something going, but I couldn't sit around and just paint all day. I don't think I would be as productive.
I think that's the thing with creatives, and I like to call you all creatives rather than just artists, because you don't just stick to one thing. I know that you concentrate a lot on songwriting and music, and it's still a creative expression. A lot of that, whether you're writing a book or poetry or picking up a paintbrush. And I think you mentioned something really interesting there, is that we work on projects. Projects are really good idea because we have a lot of stuff on the boil, and then they are little mini projects. Like this is a project. So I think that that's a really great way to do it, because we never sort of really finish one thing. It rolls into another thing. And I think that's what you're mentioning about the thought process of doing your music is very similar to a thought process of doing your art. And if you're an abstract artist, then you sort of start with nothing and spend a lot of time listening to the painting. Is that right?
That's the hardest part of doing abstract art, and to do it well, which I try to strive for, to do abstract art well. It's you have to pull everything out of thin air, you know, in music too, because I don't do covers really. So I write my own songs and write my own chord progressions. And so when you do that kind of stuff, it's just that your brain's constantly thinking of things. How do you pull something that's never been done before, because everything's been done, so you got to put your own spin on it. And that's the toughest thing for me anyways. It's like, and some days it's just not there, and you're like, okay, and you know, tomorrow's another day, and you move on from it. And
Yeah,
let's
talk social media. I know that you've done a few live Instagram performances.
Yep.
Do you schedule time to post? How does social media play into your creative journey?
When I started all this, I knew that I was have to get it out there. So I actually had my 12-year-old nephew at the time hook me up on Instagram, and so I did that and started, you know, doing that thing. And lately I have a bunch of work that I haven't been posting, and so I'll post it as time moves on. Sometimes I guess I just wanted a break from it and give it a little bit of time. I know that's probably not the right way, but for me, it seemed I've been working this whole time. I just haven't been photographing it like I used to.
That's a lot of challenges, Lee, that we experience. A lot of artists are saying it's like, well, if I'm busy taking a photo of it, I'm not doing it, and I get minimal time to do it. So you get really lost in the process of doing the painting, which is why you love painting. But you forget to keep taking those pictures. And again, it's that intention versus attention. You're really busy concentrating on that. And you really don't want to, a lot of it's private, isn't it? You really don't know what you're doing. You really, it's experiment. So, and especially so, I think in abstraction, you really can't say what your result is. And that's the exciting thing of being a painter, is if you know what it's going to look like, what's the point of doing that? We don't know. And that's what drives us. you know, so I don't think you're alone in that. You know, a lot of people don't like talking to it, but it is a beast that we have to all manage.
Well, the social media is great, I think, if it's used properly. And I wouldn't have met Melony and you if it weren't. I mean, you guys, I've looked it up. You're 8,325 miles away. And I talk to you guys probably more than anybody around here about art. I really do. So it's just one of those things where it's good and it's bad. You know, it's like I'm not one to. I don't know. It just seems a little ridiculous after a while.
Yeah, I can understand that. In terms of the light and shade, what is the most difficult thing about art and being a painter, an abstract painter?
Most difficult thing.
Not
having. What's that?
What challenges you the most?
I guess material and painting. I would like to do. I have a lot of stuff going on in here, but to go out and to buy, as artists, it's rather expensive. And I try to do everything cheaply, and not cheap, but recycled stuff if I can. I'll go get paint that's been recycled or whatever I can, just because the cost of everything. And it's because I would like to do big giant paintings, but it's just one of those things where the cost of things kind of hampers me anyway. It's like, gosh, I really want to do this, and so I got to save up my little pennies, to make those big ones, So that's probably my biggest challenge, and just temperatures, I guess. And,
so what's the best thing about being, an artist? On the flip side of that, Lee, what's the thing that you enjoy the most about the painting process, or you're just thinking creatively as an artist? What would you say is the best thing?
It brings me pure, unadulterated joy.
Oh, yay! You see, men do too, Joy.
Yes.
That's the reason why I do it. I mean, it's so much fun. I want to just scream from the mountaintops to everybody, hey, do this. You'll have so much fun. Just relax and do this, and don't worry about impressing other people. Do it for yourself. And that's where I've grown as a painter. It's like, I'm doing this, and as I'm doing that, I'm getting better, and hopefully more and more people will enjoy it too.
So I know that I have inside information that you'll be coming to Australia in 2023 in January. What can people expect from Lee Knutson?
Well, I'm going to come down there and play some good old-fashioned original rock and roll songs. And I'm also going to bring a pretty neat painting idea that I haven't been putting on Instagram or any of those things, because I kind of want to bring it to Australia, to you guys, and see what people think. I think it's a pretty neat idea, and it has to do with music and art. And so it's kind of a hush-hush thing. I could show it here. I might unveil a little bit, and if I could do a one-man show here. There's been talk that I might be able to do one. So if I could do it here too. So, but that's what I plan on doing, is just bringing a different idea down to you guys. It's conceptual music, bringing the music and the art together. So, but other than that, just a nice person that wants to come down and hang out with some Australians.
So where, Lee, can other people find out about your work? I know you are on social media. Is there any other places that people can see your work?
Well, at this moment, pretty much Instagram is where I post most of my art. I don't have a website at this moment, and I really don't post on Facebook very much. But Instagram's been pretty good to me. That's where I met you guys, and then you can look. Moses Bone, my band, is on all the major streaming devices.
Now,
And
for
that's
music people, I have to say this, Lee, for music people, you just go on all the major streaming devices. You have to list them for the non-musical people of what
okay.
musical devices are.
I guess like YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Apple Music, any of the where you get music from, you should be able to type it in. And it's Moses Bone, Hello Darling, and then, like I said, my other writing partner, he's David Albert Kuth, and he's Out of Work Blues is his single out, and I'm playing banjo on that.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been so inspiring, and it's been lovely just to hear your story and your day-to-day. Thanks for joining us on ARTnUP.
Yes, we look forward to you coming down under in 2023. And we'll put all the links to Lee's bits and pieces underneath here for anyone who's interested. Go and check out his work and his music. And we'll see him in 2023. Thanks, Lee.
All right, thanks.